let's get some reaction to this decision now. And we speak to the university's South Africa CEO, Dr. Phethiwe Matutu. Dr. Matutu, thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with how this decision is likely to affect institutions, if at all.
This decision is highly unlikely to affect universities in any way. So what we're keen on is to ensure that the outstanding areas with NSFAS are resolved as speedily as possible. And hopefully the administrator will come to the party and ensure that that happens.
Talk to us about those key outstanding areas. What tops the list for you, if you were to just mention three of them, perhaps?
So right now, we've got instability, which has been caused as a consequence of, firstly, students who have not confirmed whether they have an NSFAS bursary or not. So we want that speedily resolved. So the beneficiaries of NSFAS have to be finalized, and those people who have had appeals with NSFAS have to be finalized as soon as, so those cases as soon as possible, so that students can know whether they have NSFAS or not, and if not, they must know why they don't have the NSFAS bursary. The second one has been the threat by students to unrest on Monday as a consequence of them not having their allowances. So in that case, the department has asked universities to do the direct payment sometime next week. So we welcome that. And we will, as universities, do that. It's just a pity that we've been asked on the 12th of April. Over the past 2 months, we've done these things successfully, and we expected it to continue until NSFAS was in a position to do it. Right now, we're being asked to take it over from the service providers. And it may start a bit messy because some of the students have already received their funds, and there are those who have not, and we have to ascertain who has not received for this particular month of April. But we welcome the fact that we have been asked to do so for 4 months. So that ensures a certain level of stability over the next 3 months at least. Yeah. And then there are funds that were being owed by NSFAS, and we need to get to the finalization of that. There was the project closeout, the closeout project from the previous dispensation to this one of fee-free education for the financially needy students, and we need to get to the bottom of that and finalize the universities which are being owed by NSFAS on that. There has been capping of accommodation. There's a difference between what universities were charging and that cap. We expect that difference to be settled. And also there has been a new categorization of accommodation for universities, the metro and non-metro universities, and which does not suit some of the universities. We need all of these things to be settled because they've got financial implications for universities. Yeah. And finally, the IT system of NSFAS has been a source of a lot of frustration on the part of universities. Universities have been submitting information to NSFAS, and that information would not be accepted by the IT systems of NSFAS. So when you hear that universities have not provided registration information, what universities are saying on the side is that we can't get into this IT system, our qualification. It's rejecting our qualifications. As a result, when we talk about students being registered for this particular qualification, that cannot proceed because their systems are not performing, and you find out that there's no human capacity to deal with the queries as well as speedily as required. So the human capacity to deal with queries together with the IT systems which have to work according to how they are supposed to be working.
Yeah, so you've mentioned a number of issues there, Dr. Matutu, that stand out. And so for me, point number one, and the last point you've made, the IT system. So instability at the top, you said that there has been a lot of instability due to the inability to distinguish which student has been awarded a NSFAS bursary and which has not. Some NSFAS rebuttal, though, is that the registration data from universities has not been provided in good time. Is that a fair criticism on the part of institutions?
This is the last part I've explained. Their systems do not accept the qualifications data sometimes. And when that happens, you can't put in registration data for the student because the student has to be registered for a particular qualification. So if you can't put in your qualifications and get them accepted that side, then it means you can't provide registration data for students. Mm-hmm. And what makes it difficult is that when the universities are making queries, those queries are not attended to, due, I assume, to the insufficient human capacity that side. So it becomes an IT system combined with the absence of capacity, the human capacity to deal with the queries.
All right. I think that point is clarified from yourselves as universities. Let's then talk about what you say is the threat of unrest by students, and this in part because universities are now being asked at the 11th hour to do the direct payment starting next week. You've used the word messy. You say that this is going to be messy. What usually is the challenge when it comes to this?
There's no challenge if universities are being asked to do this thing. For instance, over the past quarter, we were asked at the 11th hour to do it. But because no students had been paid, it was very straightforward for us because what we did was to do the payments for all students. Right now, some of the institutions have got 60% of the students paid, and some of the students are saying that the money got into their account and then out. So we're not starting from a clean slate. Some students who are supposed to be paid have got money lost into their accounts, and they are going to say they have not been paid. Some students have actually been paid. So we have to know that difference, and then on the basis of that, pay the balance of the students for this month. And going forward, there's no problem.
Yeah.
We have done this payment for February, for March, and it was a seamless thing. The only problem then was that the NSFAS beneficiaries have not been finalized. So what that means is that if I'm coming from a poor family and I've been admitted at a university, and since February up to now, I've not received anything, I'm starving. And over and above that, there's no tangible reason which is being provided of why I'm not getting an NSFAS bursary. That is the key challenge.
Can I ask you this simple question, Dr. Matutu? You have sounded very confidently as to the direct payment system, that universities have never really faced a challenge in conducting this direct payment system. Did it ever make sense to you, therefore, as institutions of higher learning, why this was contracted out to people or certain entities that were to do this direct payment system. Did that make sense to you at all?
The department mentioned some cases, I don't know how many years ago, where there were ghost payments to accommodation holders or something like that. And that was mentioned for a few institutions some time ago. So that is what they provided as the reason.
But you as universities, you have always been confident that you ran the system efficiently. There was no profit-making intentions on your part.
Certainly not. And then generally, I do think that it worked well. The only thing which needs perhaps to be looked at are the reconciliations thereafter, whether NSFAS does that to ensure that there's done and there's no money owed to universities, and also they have no money owed to them.
Yeah.
There's no money owed to them. So which I think is a natural thing that an institution of this magnitude is supposed to be doing. So apart from that, no, there were no major issues like the ones that we're experiencing right now. And also there was no gain on the part of universities from doing this. Look at it this way. At the beginning of the year, what the universities do is to get certain staff trained in getting to do this work. And there are institutions which are talking about getting about 26 staff members in one university focused on this kind of work. And then during the rest of the year, they move to other sections of the organization to do the rest of the work. So that is what has made it possible for universities to manage this ship. But the interface with NSFAS is necessary. And the IT systems which are better integrated also are essential because they eliminate a lot of frustrations on the part of students and also on the part of universities.
Now that NSFAS has been placed under administration, do you have faith that this will possibly turn the institution around for the better?
Seeing that we are committed to working with NSFAS together with the Department of Higher Education and Training in ensuring that things do get turned around, we have to have faith. We don't have an option. We don't have an option.
Yeah. Final question to you. I know you speak for universities and you've explained in part a messy situation that is about to unfold. Do you know who speaks for the vocational institutions? I'm talking about your TVET colleges. Because universities at a formal level, they're spoken for by Universities South Africa. But who speaks for the technical colleges? Because they also are affected.
Unfortunately, we are not working with TVET at that level, TVET colleges at that level. But I assume that they should have a structure, be it of CEOs or of, that can represent them.
Finally, Mr. Freeman Nomvalo is the administrator. He comes with a lot of reputation, distinguished reputation. Do you have faith that this is the man to turn things around?
The reality is that the administrator is someone who's coming from the finance side of things, accounting side of things. And the interface of that knowledge with the higher education becomes useful. But we are confident that he was likely to be brought up to speed on higher education institutions and how they work, how they plan, how they do things. And in that case, then his knowledge from the finance and accounting interfaced with the knowledge that he should be brought up to speed on the functioning of higher education and training, should make it easy for him to get up to speed.
Yeah. Dr. Phethiwe Matutu, let me thank you very much for your time. The CEO of Universities South Africa.